Hi everyone, welcome to FilmDirt. I've just seen the sequel to Independence Day called Independence Day Resurgence. This was I believe it was a direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming, I think, and it certainly looks a lot cheaper than the original was. Even though it was more recent, it doesn't look as good. So here's a few of my thoughts. Firstly, it has a lot of the problems narratively that the original had. There's a lot of uninteresting side characters, but they're major characters as well, and just too much comedy going on. I understand that Will Smith didn't want to return, so we've got his son, and that's fine, but with each new character, it seems we get another love story and they've got partners involved, so we don't really need to look into their lives. They're people we don't know. The movie goes off on a little tangent where we have to look into each of these characters' stories, and we're just losing sight of the bigger picture where we're facing annihilation and there's no gravity to such a situation because we're always getting comedy. Now, if there was less comedy, we would feel what it was like more and it would mean something, and then we would like to look more into these characters if they were interesting. But they're not. None of these side stories are interesting, and nor is their history and certain characters' fallouts in the past. We just don't really want to see it. So the bigger picture doesn't really mean anything. There's no gravity here, especially towards the end when, we are facing annihilation. And we're getting some good reactions from the new president and the gravity of the situation, but the characters that the movie's choosing to follow are just spoiling it. I like Jeff Goldblum here, but he's another wisecracking character, and so is the tech guy. I think it's Brent Spiner from the original movie. It's just too comedic, and we're losing sight of what's going on. Now, I've got to mention the actual look of the film itself. It looks really televisual. It's an alternate timeline where Earth is amalgamated with alien tech by now, and we've got floating ships and moon bases and all this wonderful tech that we've borrowed from the aliens from the original movie. And that's great, but it just looks so fake. And also when we're outdoors, for some reason it still looks indoors on a soundstage. So we haven't really ironed out a lot of the look of how visual effects and rear projection or whatever it is blending in with each other, foreground to background. It just looks like moving shapes in front of a painting. Or indoor shapes, I should say. Everything seems to be indoor, even when we're outdoors in the desert or wherever we are. Even shots inside a car just look like it's on a soundstage with a projected image outside. If it isn't, then I've got to seriously question the film grading that went into this to make everything look fake. So I haven't really looked into the making of backstory. I've only really just watched the film on the off cuff, and I got incredibly bored with it as well. I don't recommend it. It's got some nice moments, but they're few and far between. The cast is, in my opinion, is just a little bit too young, and we've got the son of Will Smith's character, and he's got his enemy and his love interest, and the other guy's got his love interest as well. Yeah, it's just all a certain age. It is very Battlestar Galactica, where it's just Earth but in another timeline. And all these characters are just faceless or of a certain age, a young age, and it's just not really good for the audience's attention span. And you can see why this wasn't released into theatres. I don't think it would do very well at all if it was. In my review of the original movie, I did mention V, the 80s TV series, and this borrows more ideas from that, where we're looking at the enemy of the enemy. So the aliens that have come to destroy us, they have an enemy as well. So that makes their enemy our friend. And we touched on that in the V series as well. And I'm just wondering, did they really borrow all of this from V or from any other series? Or is it just too broad a story to pinpoint to one show specifically? I'm not saying they definitely copied anything from another series, but it does look suspicious, doesn't it? Anyone that's seen V will know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's good to see the old characters back. We've got Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum as well. That's fantastic. And I didn't like the very brief look at Robert Loggia. He looks very old, and I've got to say he doesn't look very well at this point. And I know that he's sadly no longer with us. I've really enjoyed him in his films, and he's such a good actor, but he didn't look well in this at all. I'd rather, he wasn't included in this. It's very sad to see. I just didn't want to see it. And I think it's all predictable by the end. I found it boring personally, but it had some amusing moments. And of course, you've got to have one queen. And the alien queen is about as tall as a building. And why not? Why not have her that size? We've got to destroy the shield she's carrying, and it's just not interesting enough, guys. Sorry. Not recommended. I'll give this a 2 out of 5. 2 stars for me. And I'd watch something else. I didn't really get anything from it. The only good thing I think is just to see a couple of the older characters. And if you can get past the comedy and slapstick, you'll have some fun with this. So that's my review of Independence Day Resurgence. And just to leave you with a little bit about myself, I'm not connected to any of the studios in any way, so all of my reviews are completely genuine. Thanks a lot for joining me again. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'll speak to you again in another review. Like and subscribe, like they always say. Take care.